Benjamin Tallmadge was born on November 25, 1754, in the small Long Island village of Setauket, New York. Setauket, a quiet farming and merchant community on Long Island's northern shore, was a microcosm of colonial life, its residents living under British rule, yet imbued with the emerging American ideals of self-reliance, hard work, and civic responsibility. Tallmadge's family was among the village's most prominent. His father, William Tallmadge, was a respected merchant and civic leader, while his mother provided a nurturing and morally grounded household. From an early age, Benjamin was steeped in the values of education, moral integrity, and public service, which his parents considered essential to a meaningful life. From childhood, Benjamin displayed a remarkable intellect. Even as a young boy, he exhibited a sharp curiosity about the world around him, observing nature, questioning human behavior, and absorbing the stories of colonial politics circulating in his village. Tallmadge's early education combined formal schooling with practical learning at home. He excelled in mathematics, navigation, and classical studies, and his tutors recognized in him a rare combination of intelligence, focus, and determination. Unlike many children of his era, who might focus solely on the trades or farming, Benjamin demonstrated an early understanding of abstract reasoning, strategy, and leadership. Setauket's environment also played a crucial role in shaping his character. The forests, rivers, and farms surrounding the village were both a playground and a training ground. Tallmadge developed remarkable skills in horseback riding, marksmanship, and wilderness survival. These abilities, learned in youth, would later become indispensable in his military career and espionage activities. Observing local militias and hearing stories of past conflicts with Native Americans and rival colonial powers, young Tallmadge absorbed lessons in strategy, courage, and the realities of conflict. The political climate of the colonies was another formative influence. By the 1760s, tensions between Britain and its American colonies were growing. Measures such as the Stamp Act of 1765 and the Townshend Acts of 1767 were met with widespread protests, debates, and acts of defiance. Tallmadge, though still a young man, observed these events keenly. He learned that politics was not abstract. It affected communities, families, and the future of the young colonies. His exposure to these ideas instilled in him a strong sense of justice and a desire to contribute to the shaping of his society. Family and community expectations also influenced his character. The Tallmadge family was well-connected and highly respected, which meant Benjamin was raised with the awareness that leadership required responsibility, morality, and courage. His father instilled in him a belief that wealth, privilege, or talent was meaningless unless paired with service to society. This ethical framework became a cornerstone of Tallmadge's life, guiding him in both military and civilian endeavors. By the early 1770s, Benjamin Tallmadge had matured into a young man of intellect, skill, and vision. He was prepared to step into the wider world, equipped not only with education and practical skills, but also with a moral compass and strategic mind. His early life in Setauket, shaped by family, community, and the turbulent political environment of colonial New York, laid the foundation for the extraordinary role he would play in the American Revolution, both on the battlefield and in the shadowy world of espionage. As the 1770s progressed, the political and social climate in the American colonies became increasingly tense. The colonies were no longer passive observers of British rule. They were awakening to the idea of self-governance, freedom, and resistance. In this environment, Benjamin Tallmadge, now in his early 20s, felt a profound sense of duty. His education, physical skills, and moral upbringing had prepared him to step into leadership roles, and the call to defend liberty resonated deeply within him. In 1775, with the outbreak of hostilities at Lexington and Concord, Tallmadge formally joined the colonial militia, committing himself to the revolutionary cause. His initial training was rigorous. Tallmadge had always been methodical, and he approached military preparation with the same discipline he had applied to his studies. He drilled tirelessly in formation tactics, weapons handling, and cavalry maneuvers. His background in mathematics and strategy allowed him to grasp battlefield tactics quickly, understanding not only individual actions but also how units could operate together strategically. Tallmadge was deeply influenced by the Continental Army's early leaders, particularly George Washington. He admired Washington's combination of courage, patience, and tactical genius. Tallmadge studied both Washington's orders and the reports of European military theorists, seeking to merge classical military knowledge with practical realities of fighting in the colonies. His understanding of terrain, gained from his childhood in Long Island's forests and farms, became an invaluable asset. He could visualize the movement of troops, anticipate enemy actions, and exploit environmental advantages, a skill that would later prove critical in both conventional battles and covert operations. By 1776, Tallmadge had been commissioned as a captain in the 2nd Continental Light Dragoons, a cavalry unit under the command of General George Washington. The dragoons were tasked with reconnaissance, skirmishes, and rapid response engagements, roles that required not only courage but adaptability and intelligence. Tallmadge thrived in this environment. He led patrols along Long Island and the Hudson River Valley, gathering information, testing enemy positions, and sometimes engaging in hit-and-run skirmishes. His unit became known for its precision, discipline, and daring, attributes that mirrored Tallmadge's personal qualities. Early in his service, Tallmadge also confronted the harsh realities of war. The Continental Army often faced shortages of food, weapons, and clothing. Disease and fatigue were constant threats, claiming more lives than the battlefield itself. Tallmadge, like many officers, had to manage morale and logistics as much as strategy. He gained a reputation among his men for being not only a skilled leader but also a compassionate one. He understood the importance of maintaining the health, morale, and trust of his soldiers, and he frequently took time to address their concerns personally, earning their loyalty and respect. Tallmadge's role quickly expanded beyond conventional military duties. He recognized that information was as critical to victory as muskets and cannons. Long Island, where he had grown up, was under British occupation, providing both opportunity and risk. Tallmadge began recruiting trusted locals to gather intelligence on troop movements, supply chains, and fortifications. This early work in reconnaissance and espionage laid the groundwork for what would become the famous Culper spy ring. He realized that the war was as much about knowing the enemy as engaging them directly, and his keen analytical mind allowed him to anticipate and counter British strategies. During this period, Tallmadge also cultivated relationships with other young officers and key figures in the revolutionary movement. He corresponded with leaders like Alexander Hamilton, Nathanael Greene, and John Jay, exchanging ideas on strategy, logistics, and the broader goals of the revolution. These connections were not only politically significant, but also provided him with insights into how intelligence networks could operate effectively across occupied territories. His reputation as a man of integrity, courage, and ingenuity grew steadily. By the end of 1777, Benjamin Tallmadge had emerged as a uniquely capable officer. He had distinguished himself in skirmishes and reconnaissance missions, demonstrating both tactical brilliance and personal bravery. More importantly, he had begun developing a vision for intelligence operations that would revolutionize American espionage. Tallmadge understood that conventional battles alone could not secure independence. Success required secrecy, information, and strategy executed with precision. His early military experiences, coupled with his intellectual rigor and moral grounding, prepared him to take on responsibilities that would place him at the very heart of the revolutionary struggle. Tallmadge's early military career was marked not only by courage and skill but by foresight. He anticipated the importance of long-term strategic thinking, recognizing that the Continental Army's survival depended on more than battlefield victories. It required intelligence, planning, and coordination. These lessons would guide him in the coming years, as he took on one of the most dangerous and influential roles of the Revolutionary War, the creation and leadership of the Culper spy ring, a network that would provide General Washington with the critical information necessary to outmaneuver the British and secure American independence. By 1778, Benjamin Tallmadge had already distinguished himself as a brave and resourceful officer in the Continental Army, but his greatest contribution to the American Revolution was about to begin. Recognizing the strategic importance of New York City, General George Washington personally tasked Tallmadge with a mission that required extraordinary intelligence, discretion, and ingenuity: the creation of a clandestine network capable of penetrating British lines and delivering accurate, actionable intelligence. Exposure or betrayal could mean certain death, yet he understood that the information his network could provide might determine the fate of the fledgling nation. Tallmadge began by carefully selecting agents from the local population who were trusted patriots and capable of operating discreetly. Among the most notable were Abraham Woodhull, known as Culper Sr., and Robert Townsend, known as Culper Jr. These men, along with other operatives, became the backbone of a spy network that would come to be called the Culper Spy Ring. Each agent had a critical role, observing British troop movements, documenting supply shipments, and gathering intelligence on fortifications and planned operations. Tallmadge's leadership ensured that every agent understood the importance of secrecy, the necessity of coded messages, and the value of patience and prudence in intelligence work. The methods employed by Tallmadge and his spies were remarkably sophisticated for their time. Messages were encoded using ciphers, numbers, and invisible ink, a technique that Tallmadge helped refine. Letters were often concealed in hollowed-out objects, such as books, barrels, or wooden boxes, to avoid detection by British patrols and Loyalist informants. Couriers risked their lives traveling through occupied territories, sometimes walking or riding for miles under the cover of night to deliver critical information. Tallmadge coordinated all of this from Long Island, carefully balancing the urgency of the reports with the absolute need for discretion. The intelligence gathered by the Culper Spy Ring had profound effects on the course of the war. Reports of troop movements and British supply shipments allowed Washington to plan maneuvers that avoided ambushes and maximized the effectiveness of his smaller forces. In several instances, intelligence from the network alerted the Continental Army to planned British raids, enabling preemptive action that saved lives and preserved resources. Tallmadge's strategic mind transformed these small bits of information into actionable knowledge, demonstrating an early mastery of operational intelligence that would inspire future American espionage efforts. Tallmadge also had to navigate the treacherous social and political landscape of Long Island and New York City. Loyalist sympathizers were numerous, and a single betrayal could dismantle the entire network. To mitigate these risks, Tallmadge carefully vetted agents, created layers of secrecy, and maintained direct control over all sensitive communications. He trained his operatives not only in the technical aspects of spying but also in the subtle skills of deception, persuasion, and observation. The ring's success depended on trust, discipline, and the ability to operate undetected, a test of character as much as of skill. One particularly notable episode involved British attempts to uncover the ring's activities. A Loyalist informant suspected unusual movement near Setauket and reported it to occupying forces. Tallmadge responded with swift measures. He adjusted the network's routes, altered signal systems, and introduced false information to mislead the enemy. The flexibility, foresight, and calm under pressure demonstrated in these moments underscored Tallmadge's exceptional talent as a spymaster. Unlike many commanders who focused solely on battlefield tactics, he understood that winning the war also required mastery of information, psychology, and human networks. Tallmadge's work with the Culper Spy Ring also highlighted the collaborative nature of revolutionary success. He coordinated with multiple operatives, including couriers, observers, and sympathizers in both urban and rural areas. Each member's contributions, combined with Tallmadge's strategic oversight, created an intelligence machine that functioned with remarkable precision. Letters coded with invisible ink, secret drops, and memorized observations flowed consistently to Washington, providing him with unprecedented insight into enemy operations. This intelligence was often the difference between victory and disaster in New York and along the Hudson River. By the time the war drew toward its final years, the Culper Spy Ring had become an essential tool of the Continental Army. Its reports influenced Washington's decisions during key operations, including movements along the Hudson River and the defense of critical supply lines. Tallmadge's dual role as army officer and intelligence coordinator required extraordinary skill. He had to balance conventional military duties, maintain the loyalty and safety of his spies, and ensure that all reports reached Washington promptly and securely. The success of the network was a testament to his leadership, foresight, and unwavering commitment to the cause of independence. Beyond immediate military impact, Tallmadge's intelligence operations set enduring precedents. He demonstrated that organized, disciplined espionage could decisively shape the outcome of war. His innovations in ciphers, covert communication, and operational secrecy laid the groundwork for American intelligence practices that continue to influence military strategy to this day. Tallmadge understood that wars were won not only with bullets and bayonets but with knowledge, planning, and the courage to act in the shadows. By the end of the Revolutionary War in 1783, Benjamin Tallmadge had secured his place in history. His leadership of the Culper spy ring had protected vital American positions, saved lives, and provided Washington with the intelligence needed to outmaneuver a formidable British army. Tallmadge emerged as not only a courageous officer but a visionary strategist, whose blend of bravery, intellect, and ingenuity helped secure American independence. His work in espionage demonstrated that the revolutionary cause required more than open combat. It demanded foresight, secrecy, and a deep understanding of human nature. With the end of the Revolutionary War in 1783, Benjamin Tallmadge transitioned from the clandestine world of espionage and the battlefield to the challenges of peacetime leadership. Unlike many veterans who struggled to adapt after years of war, Tallmadge applied the same discipline, foresight, and sense of duty that had guided his military career to his civilian endeavors. Returning to Middletown, Connecticut, he sought to continue serving the young nation, now through political office, social reform, and public service. Tallmadge married Mary Floyd, the daughter of William Floyd, a signer of the Declaration of Independence. Also the broader interconnection of the nation's revolutionary leadership. Through his family life, Tallmadge found stability, support, and inspiration for his ongoing civic engagement. His household became a center of intellectual discourse and patriotic reflection, and he instilled in his children the values of service, integrity, and education that had guided his own life. In the post-war period, Tallmadge entered public service, beginning with local government. He was elected to the Connecticut House of Representatives, where he advocated for policies that promoted civic responsibility, education, and infrastructure development. Tallmadge recognized that the hard-won independence of the colonies could only be preserved through active participation of informed and ethical citizens. He consistently emphasized that liberty was not a static gift but a responsibility, requiring vigilance, moral integrity, and collective effort. Tallmadge's political career eventually extended to the United States House of Representatives, where he served from 1801 to 1817. In Congress, he was known as a thoughtful and principled legislator. He supported measures to strengthen national defense, improve transportation and trade, and create institutions that would educate and inform the populace. Tallmadge was particularly focused on balancing the ideals of liberty with practical governance, believing that a free society could only endure if guided by law, reason, and ethical leadership. His speeches and votes reflected a deep understanding of both human nature and the fragile structures of the young republic. Beyond formal politics, Tallmadge remained engaged with military and veteran affairs. He played a leading role in founding and organizing the Connecticut Society of the Cincinnati, an organization of Revolutionary War officers dedicated to preserving the memory and principles of the Revolution. Through this society, Tallmadge maintained close ties with former comrades, advised younger leaders, and ensured that the sacrifices and lessons of the Revolution were remembered and honored. He often emphasized the moral and civic lessons of the war, teaching that courage, integrity, and foresight were as important in peace as in battle. Education and civic development were other areas of Tallmadge's enduring influence. He believed that a successful republic depended upon an informed citizenry capable of exercising judgment and responsibility. Tallmadge advocated for the establishment of schools, supported public libraries, and encouraged community engagement. He also mentored young leaders, sharing his experiences in strategy, governance, and intelligence to prepare them for the challenges of leadership. His writings, speeches, and personal example helped shape a generation of Americans who valued both liberty and civic responsibility. Tallmadge's vision extended to social reform and ethical governance. He believed that the principles fought for during the Revolution, justice, equality, and freedom, needed to permeate all aspects of society. He urged policymakers to consider the moral implications of their decisions and promoted civic virtue as the foundation of a functioning democracy. Tallmadge also encouraged historical reflection, insisting that citizens study the successes and failures of the past to guide the nation's future. Benjamin Tallmadge continued to serve his community and country until his death on May 7, 1835. By the end of his life, he had left an indelible mark on American history. As a Continental Army officer, he demonstrated extraordinary courage and leadership. As the architect and leader of the Culper spy ring, he provided Washington with intelligence that was critical to winning the war. And as a statesman and civic leader, he worked tirelessly to guide a young nation toward stability, education, and moral governance. Tallmadge's legacy is multifaceted. Historians remember him as a master spymaster whose innovations in intelligence operations influenced generations of American military and civilian espionage. He is celebrated as a soldier of integrity, a leader who combined bravery with strategy and ethics. And he is admired as a statesman and educator, who believed that liberty and responsibility must go hand in hand. From the forests of Long Island to the halls of Congress, Benjamin Tallmadge exemplified the ideals of courage, intellect, and service, leaving a lasting imprint on the history of the United States and the principles upon which it was founded.